This show furnished by Karl Gerber and Employment Lawyers Group.
Talk Radio 790 KABC. You're listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show, and I'm Karl Gerber, which is still my problem. Now that we have gotten through the graduations, Father's Day, the only thing left is the 4th of July, where we can remember what it was like to be a more inclusive society. Some of you probably will be going on vacations in luxurious spots like Blythe, California, perhaps Bakersfield, maybe even Fireball. Myself, I don't get to go on vacations because I'm a real work lawyer with a whole bunch of trials coming up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a vacation from the big URLs, the ones like wellsfargo.com, the ones like facebook.com with a lot of content. I'm going to just go on those tiny URLs because it's kind of dicey, you know. I could end up being on a site with just one page. Maybe I'll hit the contact button and it won't work. So that's going to be my vacation. This week has been another week at my office for verbal abuse from new client callers. We had a lovely black lady in Sacramento who called, asked about a case. I didn't talk to her, and she wrote a negative Google review on my website, and she said that my black legal secretary must be a racist. So, logic is the cornerstone of the law, and convincing a jury or other fact finder your position is justified requires logic and reason. Legal logic can be like a math problem. You simply don't get to element B if you don't have element A. Or in other words, you'll never make it from Los Angeles to Honolulu if you don't get out of your chair, board an airplane, or get on a boat. Going through 200 new client inquiries a week now, which is what we're up to at my office, requires logic. Logic, however, is not always the cornerstone of a new client's claim. All too often, we are expected to believe that a black woman in a black family discriminated against another black woman, or there was a layoff that was supposed to affect older people, and well, only 3 people were laid off over 40, and there were these really big ages like 42 and 44, and 26 people were laid off who were under 40, but it must be a layoff because of age. The same lack of logic sometimes applies when clients claim they really want to find a job and really need to work, but they fail to put in a single application for a new job after they're fired. And we have the victims of sexual harassment who claim their bodies have been touched all over without their consent, but then they respond to the harasser's email about how to make the best potato salad, and they engage in dialogue about cooking techniques when the job involves nursing and not cooking. We also get cases where the person who decides to fire the employee has never met the employee and is supposed to know they anonymously complained to OSHA. Or we have somebody who's disabled and can't work for 4 years. They're allowed to come back to the company. They're told they should apply for a job at the company, but they refuse to actually apply for a job because the job from 4 years ago doesn't exist. Employees and employers have to act both reasonably and logically, or they're going to lose the case. The other problem, which angers me because I like to see people get justice. They call up and they want a big-time civil case for wrongful termination or discrimination, but they don't qualify for it. They clearly have some great case for sexual harassment, but they don't want to talk about that. Other ones, they could bring a workers' compensation case, maybe get $50,000, maybe get $100,000, but they don't want to mess around with no workers' comp. They want to sue in the big civil arena. We also have people who would really like to persist in suing a manager who can't be sued for anything and did something very petty to the person, and the rest of the world could care less about that thing, but they're very concerned with wanting to do something to that person. So tonight's episode is going to be a demonstration of a lack of logic and a refusal to go forward with the legal gravamen. that which can be sued upon, opposed to a fictional claim for defamation or something that sounds delusional and the court will not entertain. As I have explained oftentimes with this show, we deal with very serious matters. We deal with matters that are very controversial, and I don't want to bring real clients onto the show most of the time, and you can't because you're not supposed to have publicity for an ongoing legal matter. So we do reenact these, and you're going to hear something from a short story that I wrote some years back, and hopefully you will find it funny. It's called A Day at the Office of the Attorney for the People.
Well, in the beginning, my manager put 2 hands underneath his male reproductive parts, grabbed them, and started bouncing up and down. Then, near the end, he only put 1 hand underneath his male reproductive parts when he saw me.
Mr. Nameless potential client sitting here in my office many years ago, what is the significance of the fact that he went from grabbing 1 of your male testicles to 2 of them?
Before I really get into it, I want to give you a picture of the whole situation. The attorney uneasily nodded his head. The attorney did not want to hear the whole story. Although the attorney was becoming what some might refer to as a prominent labor lawyer in the community, the attorney still had extensive student loans to repay. Therefore, since this client was paying by the hour, the attorney felt a moral obligation to hear it all. See, the rumor that I was gay first spread to the gym.
What gym is that?
The gym in Ventura.
I thought the company that you worked in is in Santa Ana.
It was, but I worked out in Ventura.
Isn't Ventura something like 120 miles from Santa Ana?
Yeah, but I was living in Ventura at the time.
So you drove 120 miles to work each day?
Yeah, a lot of people at the company did. When the attorney was in college, he had a running joke with his brother that engineers suffered from a mental illness, compelling them to commute distances in excess of 40 miles each way to work. But 120 miles seemed a bit exaggerated, and the client wasn't even an engineer.
I guess that commuting 240 miles a day didn't leave you much time for a social life.
I have no friends. The client was impeccably dressed and manicured. He wore a red polo shirt, had perfectly trimmed hair, and a handsome light brown moustache.
The problem with defamation is that you have to identify the source of this allegedly defamatory comment that you're claiming is going on.
Yeah, I know who it was.
So who started the rumor that you were gay, which spreads from Ventura County to Orange County, which seems to be about 120 miles, maybe 115?
It was this guy, Tim Tiddlewinks, who was the human resource specialist in San Francisco.
How did people in Ventura, I mean Santa Ana, hear about this rumor that started in the Bay Area?
Well, you see, I think that Hollywood got into this somehow.
Hollywood? What do you mean Hollywood got into this?
The attorney was a very straight-looking man who had been a lawyer for several years, but was still in his 20s. The attorney's hair was neatly cut, and he wore a Navy 42 regular single-breasted suit jacket with a subdued necktie. His shoes were well-polished, all-leather, black Italian wingtips. The attorney looked like a marching drone from a large downtown defense firm. But he never went about anything in a conventional manner. Well, I don't really want to say it or anything, but I think that Hollywood got involved in this somehow. I think that maybe the company sent a picture of me to TV, and they put it like on the news, and they said, this is a picture of what a typical gay man looks like. And then this was broadcast all over the place.
Do you really believe that?
No, it was all coming back to the attorney. He recalled speaking to a client a week earlier. His conclusion, the client was completely out of his mind. On a good day, the attorney got more than 20 new client calls. By this point, Still early in his career. He was past the point of even being able to remember the wild ones. I know this is true.
How do you think we could ever prove this?
That's easy.
So far in this dialogue, we have a man who is very normal looking, appears to be a normal employee, but has a very fantastic story that is simply unbelievable and illogical, that a rumor about his sexuality has been spread all over California from people that don't know each other, and it sounds like he wants to sue for defamation. When we come back, we're going to talk more about what this rumor is and what the source of this man's suffering might be. Now, tonight, I do have one operator standing by, and we would appreciate it if you call if you have a real employment law case and you're an employee. We can be reached at 877-525-0700. Once again, 877-525-0700. That's 877-525-0700. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show.
Homeowners insurance is only boring until you need it. But what happens when you do and you discover your policy is covering the wrong things? 64% of the homes in America are underinsured and paying for outdated coverage for things like pewter, furs, and crypts. That's why Hippo set out to change the industry with smart insurance for the modern home, covering things like appliances, expensive electronics, and even your HVAC for up to 25% less than what you're currently paying. Just go to myhippo.com, enter your address, and see if you could save up to 25%. It's free and fast to check. It only takes seconds, and all policies are backed by Hippo's top-rated insurance partners with over $200 billion in assets. Make sure you have the right coverage right now with an instant quote at myhippo.com. You could be overpaying. Go today and check. You could save up to 25%, and Hippo will even help cancel your existing policy for you. That's myhippo.com. myhippo.com.
Unlimited talk and text plus 3 gigabytes of high-speed data for $25 a month with no mystery fees and no activation fees ever. Just $25 a month on a lightning-fast 4G LTE nationwide network and no contract. That's our best deal ever. Buy yours now at nationwide retailers like Best Buy or at Simple Mobile dealers. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
A month equals 30 days. Limited time offer ends 9/30/18. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at simplemobile.com.
Results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services. If you owe the IRS back taxes, payroll taxes, or have not filed your returns, the IRS will get you. They can take your property, take you to court, even put you in jail. With one call to Wall, you'll never need to talk to the IRS again. Our average client settles for about 10% of what is owed. We offer free face-to-face consultations in your local area. Call 800-727-0433. That's 800-727-0433.
Since 1993, the Employment Lawyers Group has been a consistent force in fighting for the rights of California employees. They've represented thousands of employees in cases in which they've lost their jobs, been sexually harassed, discriminated against at work, or owed wages individually or as a group such as a class action. The Employment Lawyers Group has maintained a high win rate and a serious record before the California courts. Please call 877-525-0700 for an experienced work lawyer. That's 877-525-0700. They have call takers standing by. Online, research the firm at worklawyerca.com. They have offices throughout Southern California. If you hire the Employment Lawyers Group, your legal problem becomes theirs to solve.
Talk Radio 790 KBC. You're listening to Karl Gerber, Workplace Lawyer, which is heard every Sunday from 7 to 8 o'clock on this station. Before we broke, we were talking about logic and illogical things and the fact that a lot of times employees don't have the logic that is required for these cases, and what they're claiming is a case that's supposed to be something they can sue their employer for. It doesn't make any sense. The same problem exists for employers, and I have a lot of fun when I question the witnesses for the employers because they say some pretty crazy things, and in a couple minutes I'm able to get them sounding like someone out of one of these scripts we have in our show, which is preposterous, and you don't want to have a preposterous defense. So before we broke, we were talking with a nameless potential client who believed his manager was putting first one hand underneath his male private reproductive organs, and then two at a certain point, and this is because this guy is supposed to be gay, and he has got this rumor being spread all over California. So we're going to continue on. Tonight we may have time for callers. If you'd like to call, you may call in at 800-222-5222. Once again, we're live in studio, downtown trendy Culver City. We are looking for live callers tonight who are fun. 800-222-5222. Once again, 800-222-5222. So I'm going to continue my discussion with this gentleman who believes that he's being defamed. I'm going to ask him, Mr. Nameless Client here, what do you mean that I can just ask anyone and they're going to be able to substantiate this situation you're saying is going on?
Wanting to get away from the alleged defamation aspect of the case and back to the same-sex harassment part, but not being able to end the inquiry on what was one of the looniest accusations the attorney had ever heard. Well, just take this building, for instance. Just go line up 10 people in this building and ask them if they've ever seen me before. And they say that they had.
When you walked in today, Mr. Nameless Client, did you think that I'd seen you before?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Well, I had not. This is the first time I've ever seen or met you.
The client shrugged his left shoulder, as if he was surprised that the attorney admitted with the utmost candor he had never seen the client before. This was turning into a joke just a little bit too big for the attorney. He wanted to get the client out of the office before he attacked the attorney. After all, this was the outpost office in the San Fernando Valley, where staff was not kept, nor was there a security guard in the downstairs lobby. In fact, the suite was but 3 rooms, and the attorney and the client were the only people in the suite.
If anybody or everybody in California knows who you are, how could I pick an impartial jury in your case?
We couldn't.
Then I guess you're saying we'd have to go with a judge trial, which is what you do if you don't want a jury.
No. The judge would know me, too. It's like I've become, notorious. It's like my picture was sent to TV, and they said, this is a picture of what a typical gay man looks like.
What if we lined up 10 people right now and none of them claimed they'd ever seen you before?
If they were in court, under oath, then maybe they wouldn't lie.
I'll play around with this a little bit, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, you're right. It's like there's some witnesses out there who lie in depositions. That's the thing when people come in and they testify under oath in an office with just a bunch of lawyers there. But once you get them in the court with a bailiff standing there, maybe a courtroom attendant, someone of authority standing there next to a judge in a robe, sitting in a chair raised above the witness stand, then those kind of losers that are going to go lie, they get intimidated and they take the penalty of perjury seriously since they know they're under oath in court.
The client was pleased that he had finally found a lawyer who understood the problem. I know what you're saying. The other lawyers that I've been to, the 6 or 7 other lawyers, all said pretty much the same thing. But, you're being a lot more forthright. And I really appreciate that. The attorney was sure glad this one was paying by the hour. But then the attorney started wondering if this client had the money to pay the attorney's $150 an hour fee for the consultation.
These days, listeners, no attorney would do a consultation like this for $150. I don't know if they'd do it for $350 or $500. I don't do consultations unless I want the case because it's a huge waste of people's money. I get 50 calls a day now, and probably 40 of them don't have a case. I don't feel like charging them $300 or $500 to tell them that. If you think you'd like to talk to a real labor lawyer, you should call our office because we actually have some people there working tonight. Like I'm telling you, we work 7 days a week. You should call at 877-525-0700. Once again, that's 877-525-0700. Our office can be reached for real employment cases at 877-525-0700. You are listening to Talk Radio. This is 790. This is KBC. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. I'm Karl Gerber, and we are doing an enactment of a situation with a client who would like to sue for defamation, appears a little bit delusional, might have a good case for same-sex harassment, but he doesn't seem to be real interested in it, and the attorney is concerned that he's got this guy in his office and he sounds loony. So I'm playing the role of guess who? The attorney. So back to our conversation with this nameless client. I'm going to ask him, what position did you have at the time of your termination?
Chief Financial Officer of Southern California.
That's an awfully good job, wasn't it?
Yeah, it paid $249,500 per year, and I had a lot of benefits. The attorney did believe him. The client's address was in a fashionable part of the San Fernando Valley, and the client did appear to be well educated. Trying to break away from the rumors that had allegedly spread throughout the state of California.
And Mr. Nameless Client, I see you brought a lot of documents with you. I'd like to start flipping through these documents if you're telling me a little bit more about what happened. I know sometimes clients are reluctant to turn over their papers to the attorney who's supposed to be helping them, and they like to leave the papers in the middle of the desk or rearrange them 5 times for 20 minutes, but I just need to see them. So I hope you can give me these papers.
The client hinted there was a psychiatric evaluation in the pile of papers at the other end of the 8-foot conference table. The attorney was just dying to see what the man's diagnosis was.
We're going to have to wait a few minutes to find out what this gentleman's diagnosis is, being that he is the CFO of the company, but believes that a rumor started in a gym in Ventura County. It spread to Santa Ana. Maybe it spread to the Bay Area, where it's all because when a manager sees him, every time the manager sees him, he has one hand sometimes underneath his male reproductive products, sometimes 2 hands under his male reproductive products. And of course, this rumor is that the potential client is gay, which is supposed to, I guess, really bother him. And, it's probably the rumor has been spread in Hollywood, the client believes. So when you come back, you're going to hear more about this. You are listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. Once again, we are interested in people calling in with something funny to say, hopefully about employment law tonight at 800-222-5222. Once again, 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We are discussing situations with clients where they appear completely normal, but they want to sue their company, and their logic and the reasons for why they want to sue don't make a lot of sense. And the further you get into these conversations, the stranger the dialogue becomes. Sometimes you sense that there is something that they can sue for. In this case, we've been talking about same-sex harassment, maybe sexual harassment, but the client does not appear to have a huge interest in it. The client has a psychiatric report, which, again, is kind of like an x-ray to a lawyer. If we're dealing with a case where someone has suffered major emotional distress, we want to see the medical report, the psychological report. Psychological reports are oftentimes very difficult to get. If I use the consent form that I have at my office, a lot of psychiatric facilities don't accept it. They want their own to be used for liability purposes. I've found it's better and easier sometimes for the client to get the report themselves, although some therapists don't want the patient ever to see their notes. So it's an uphill battle in getting these reports, and if the reports do exist, I need to read them, and the client needs to get them off the middle of the table into my hand so I can start seeing what's going on and seeing if there are other psychological problems that the client has been suffering from that may have caused the emotional distress, or in this case might mean that the client is delusional and what he's telling me doesn't have a lot of stock in it. So when we come back, we'll find out more about this client's psychiatric report on the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show.
Dr. Peter Fields is both an MD and a chiropractor and is an expert in regenerative orthopedics. It's a pleasure to welcome him to KABC.
Thanks, Doug.
What does prolotherapy and PRP treat?
Well, they both are part of regenerative orthopedics and get your joints and spine to regenerate themselves without surgery. Prolotherapy treats damaged ligaments and tendons. This happens in knees, shoulders, hips, ankle, and other joints. PRP is excellent for treating a torn meniscus in the knee, a torn labrum in the hip, a torn rotator cuff in the shoulder, or in smaller areas like an Achilles tendon or carpal tunnel in your wrist. Both of these therapies also treat low back and neck problems and are excellent for arthritis in all joints. Remember, once surgery is done, it can never be undone.
If you want to avoid surgery on your joints or spine, call Dr. Fields at 310-453-1234. That's 310-453-1234. And on the web at drfields.com. That's drfields.com.
Are you ready? How's your lawn looking? What are you going to do about those bugs in and outside your home? Your windows, your garage, your mower. A homeowner's work is never done. And if you have any questions and you need a little guidance, call me, Lou Manfredini. All you have to do is call. House Smarts Radio is live every Saturday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Talk Radio 790 KABC News Update. I'm Steve Cumming. President Trump is calling for immigrants who illegally entered the U.S. to be sent back to their countries without going through the judicial process before they're deported. Correspondent Boris Sanchez reports on today's presidential tweets.
He writes, quote, "We cannot allow all of these people to invade our country. When somebody comes in, we must immediately, with no judges or court cases, bring them back from where they came. Our system is a mockery to good immigration policy and law and order. Most children come without parents. Our immigration policy is laughed at all over the world." The president then went on to make a case for merit-based immigration.
The family and friends of Antoine Rose held a visitation and memorial service for the unarmed black teenager who was shot to death by a Pittsburgh area police officer. The protests, which have taken place since the shooting, will momentarily pause to give the Rose family time to grieve. KABC SoCal weather will have areas of low clouds and fog this evening, and it will be cloudy overnight with lows in the mid-50s to lower 60s. More news coming up and continuous coverage on KABC.com. I'm Steve Cumming, Talk Radio 790 KABC News.
Results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services. If you owe the IRS back taxes, payroll taxes, or have not filed your returns, the IRS will get you. They can take your property, take you to court, even put you in jail. With one call to Wall, you'll never need to talk to the IRS again. Our average client settles for about 10% of what is owed. We offer free face-to-face consultations in your local area. Call 800-727-0433. That's 800-727-0433.
Since 1993, the Employment Lawyers Group has been a results-oriented law firm whose goal is to get the client what they deserve. They've represented thousands of California employees who've lost their jobs, been sexually harassed, subjected to employment discrimination, or were owed wages on an individualized or group basis, such as a class action. They have a high rate of success. There are few situations involving employment law that they have not confronted. At the forefront of employee rights, they're often the first employee law firm to confront a new legal issue. For an experienced employment lawyer, call 877-525-0700. That's 877-525-0700. They have call takers standing by. Online, read more about the firm at employeelawca.com. They have offices throughout Southern California. Make your work problem theirs to solve.
You are listening to Talk Radio 790 KABC. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. I'm still Karl Gerber, and that's still my problem, and it's a big problem of mine tonight because I've got a really weird client, our potential client here, many years ago in an office that only has 3 rooms and no security, and he thinks that Hollywood has spread a rumor that he's the typical effigy of a gay man, and his manager keeps making a groin grab. And before we broke, he was giving me a psychiatric report. At least I hope he's going to give me the psychiatric report because I want to know what that is going on here.
The client starts handing the attorney documents, and the two continue a gentlemanly conversation as the attorney puts on his gold-framed glasses and reads through a 30-page psychiatric report taken by the Fortune 500 company's in-house psychiatrist in Santa Ana.
Educational background, 3.92 out of 4.0 on finance at the University of Iowa. Wow. Social background. The client states that he does not have any friends and only communicates with his family by mail. That's weird. Other employees interviewed thought of the patient as a bit of a workaholic, which wasn't appropriate for his position since his predecessor left at 4:30. This is a CFO job. Why is the predecessor leaving at 4:30? This is weirder than fiction.
The attorney quickly became bored with the comments from the witnesses, who the psychiatrist interviewed, and reported there was nothing unusual to report about the patient. After some 15 pages of text, the attorney came to psychiatric conclusions.
Oh, finally. I've been reading this forever. And why is the company psychiatrist involved in this? I don't even know if that's legal. And why is he interviewing people? He's not an investigator. This is kind of strange, but I don't want to start this guy going on some bizarre theory that he can go sue the company psychologist or sue the company, but, that could be a valid theory that he should sue the company for making him undergo a psychiatric evaluation. I think I had a case where they made a disabled client undergo some sort of a medical test, and that wasn't appropriate, and we got a lot of money on that. I think we got $150,000. Well, okay, psychiatric conclusions. I got to read this part in this report. The patient appears perfectly normal and functional in all aspects and respects except for his delusions that everyone thinks the patient is gay. Who is this psychiatrist? Is he just a cog for the company? How could any real rational psychiatrist come up with this? This is a guy who thinks that Hollywood is spreading a rumor that he's gay and that wherever he goes, some people are making groin-grabbing comments or what do you call it? Like they're taking gestures, making gestures, putting one hand and then two hands underneath their male reproductive organs, and this is supposed to be some international symbol of something offensive, and it's on TV. I've never seen this on TV. I don't watch TV, but I've never seen this before. This can't be real.
The attorney was a bit perplexed.
Maybe if you could put aside this defamation aspect of the case, there might be something here. You worked at the company for 15 years. That's a long time. You complained of sexual harassment to all levels of management. We rarely see somebody complaining to all levels of management, yet nothing was done to separate you from the harasser who is doing this terrible stuff to you. You had a high salary, and now you're unemployed. Why don't you just sue for sexual harassment? Forget this defamation thing.
No, it's because it's a burden on me.
What's a burden on you?
Everybody thinks I'm gay.
But you have a remedy at law. You could sue for sexual harassment, and, I don't know what this is anyways. Are you homophobic or something?
No. I mean, I got a lot of gay friends. I can't even get a date with a woman.
And this rumor is being spread how again?
Hollywood.
Who in Hollywood?
Everybody in Hollywood. They put it up on a thing, and then everybody saw it, and then everybody looks at me no matter where I go. I go to the supermarket. I walk down the street. I walked by a bus. Every single face turned, looked at me, and started laughing.
How many faces was that?
6.
6. And the other thing is, I know, Hollywood is still kind of big. We have movies and stuff, but what about the internet? If I do a search on your name right now,
I wouldn't do that.
Why?
It's not going to be pretty.
Is there going to be a picture?
People Photoshop.
They Photoshop the groin grabbing, I take it?
Everything.
You're listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. I'm having a discussion with a fictional character who believes he's being defamed. He could sue for sexual harassment, but he doesn't want to. And I want to get back to this discussion because this guy is up there on life. He's starting to sound like Remus Helms, who you could listen to on the old episodes if you go to workplacelawyer.org or you go to YouTube. The old episodes of this show are all over the place. There are excerpts out now. They're on iTunes, radio.com. They're everywhere. You should hear it because I think we've got another Remus Helms in studio. Almost as weird, but, so you think I shouldn't go to the internet because it won't be pretty and there'll be Photoshop pictures of what?
Of me doing things with other men doing things with me.
Who is posting this?
I don't know. It's all the people behind the scenes in Hollywood. They manipulate, and it gets out there. And my neighbors, they know everything now. That's not even true, but they think it's true.
You do understand that for defamation, you actually have to know who is posting the libelous content. It's libelous if it's in writing, it's slander if it's just spoken. But if I don't know who put this. It's just the amorphous Hollywood. I know Hollywood, some people, including me, I had a lively debate not long ago that Hollywood is not really a place. It's a state of mind. But, there's studios in Hollywood, there's stations. It sounds like we don't know who in Hollywood is doing this. And I'm also kind of wondering, why would Hollywood want to be defaming you? Because
that's what I want to know,
your manager started a bizarre groin-grabbing exercise.
Look, man, I don't know. It's just, I understand that maybe, there's two separate cases, but there's just a lot of damage that's been being done and spreading.
How many times has your manager done the groin-grabbing gesture in front of you that's offensive?
Every single day at work.
How many times is that? Every day for how long?
Well, there's 365 days in the year, and, weekends off, so just do some math.
So
I worked a Saturday once. I worked a Saturday, so you got to add that day in there.
Okay, but if it's pervasive, which it is, and if it's severe, which it is, because groin grabbing is definitely that, you have a case for sexual harassment, and you're telling me the man who did this is higher up than you. You're the CFO, so I'm assuming he's an officer of a company or a managerial agent, which binds the company for punitive damages. Why don't we focus on the sexual harassment case? The psychiatric report makes it look like there's nothing wrong with you. We're going to use it, even though I won't say there could be an independent medical examination. In your case, an independent mental examination by the company once this case gets going. I don't know what's going to happen there, but why don't we just go with the sexual harassment and forget this whole defamation thing?
You think that's the best thing to do?
I really do.
I just want it to be over with.
You want what to be
everything.
Over with?
I just want to be straight and normal again.
Okay, but I'm not going to get into a case where we're suing Hollywood. I guess Hollywood would be the defendant. A defendant has to actually be an actual corporation. I don't know if this is Hollywood is like a Doe defendant. It's just Hollywood. And we put it the names later, but we really need to know
who's in charge.
Who this is.
Who's in charge of Hollywood? The man in charge of Hollywood is the ultimate one that's doing it.
The man in charge of Hollywood is being sued for sexual harassment, as far as I know. That's probably why they wanted me to do this show. I was interviewed so many times about that.
See?
Okay, so I just don't. I don't think Hollywood is behind this. I'm sorry. We need to focus on the sexual harassment. But there's a problem. If your deposition is taken, you're going to start testifying about the images on the internet and the Hollywood being involved.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you an instance here. Last week, I was at Disneyland, and I was walking around, and there was a man on the second level of a balcony, right? And he was near one of the rides. And he just started looking at me, and he was grabbing his groin, and he yelled out at me, "Hey, gay man!"
Oh, brother, we're gonna continue this conversation. It's weird, and I like it because it's weird, and it's illustrating a whole bunch of issues in employment law. So if you want to talk to a real employment lawyer, remember 877-525-0700. You can talk to me. I'm a real lawyer, even though I'm pretending here on the radio in a fictional reenactment. That's 877-525-0700. Once again, 877-525-0700. You are listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. It is heard every Sunday from 7 to 8, and I hope you think it's as funny as I do.
The Employment Lawyers Group is a results-driven law firm whose goal is to get the right result for the client. They have represented employees with a high rate of success since 1993 throughout the state of California. They're only paid and if they are able to collect money from the employer, so there's not any upfront fees or costs in order to hire them. They have represented thousands of employees who've been terminated from their jobs, sexually harassed, subjected to employment discrimination, or are owed wages in an individualized or group basis such as a class action. Call 877-525-0700. That's 877-525-0700. They have operators standing by. They can also be reached at employeelawca.com. They have offices throughout Southern California. Hire them and make your workplace problem theirs to solve.
Hi, it's Alan Gervey.
And I'm Carrie Kasem.
Need some legal, moral, or just common sense advice?
Then tune in to Gervey's Law Saturdays at 2 when we open up the discussion and tackle difficult issues in law and life.
That's right. You've heard of Murphy's Law, but have you heard of Gervey's Law?
Zero. Results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services. If you owe the IRS back taxes, payroll taxes, or have not filed your returns, the IRS will get you. They can take your property, take you to court, even put you in jail. With one call to Wall, you'll never need to talk to the IRS again. Our average client settles for about 10.
A lot of people calling, but I don't know what they're calling about into the show, so I don't know if I want to take the calls. That can be a very dangerous situation. Before we broke, we were talking to a fictional character who is obsessed that people are ragging on him or whatever, defaming him, and he believes Hollywood is behind it, and he's got all these improbable explanations that don't make any sense, and his psychiatric report makes him look normal, and he was the CFO of the company earning a high salary. I've told him he should be suing for sexual harassment because there's a bunch of groin-grabbing gestures from a very high-ranking person at the company, but he is not interested in doing that for some reason. He wants to sue for defamation. He wants to sue unknown people who spread this rumor that I'm never going to find, and I don't know who they are, so I don't even know how I'd name them in a lawsuit. So let's continue on having this conversation, which was getting a little weird before we broke. You know, there might be people out there who think you look gay, and really, who cares? Sort of not really, who cares? And maybe they're trying to make fun of you, which, gee, in 2018, I mean, who is still making fun of gay people? That just seems backward. But I don't think that these people who are engaging in junior high school behavior, maybe, I don't think this has anything to do with the company. And have you ever thought, I have an interesting idea, this groin-grabbing thing. There's so much stuff now on the internet. There's so many weird symbols and hidden meanings. Do you think this groin-grabbing thing is like some sort of the international insult for gay men?
It could very well be. I mean, I don't. That's you know. That's I've come to you for the help because I'm confused by it, and I certainly didn't ask for this. Okay, I'm wondering why you haven't just asked this manager that started this whole thing. Why didn't you just ask him, why are you grabbing your groin every time you see me? You can't. You're not allowed to talk to him. He's your boss. But you're not allowed to talk to him. That's what they told me when they hired me. You can't talk to him. So you're not allowed to talk to your boss? No. Okay, because the psychiatrist who was hired by the company, I read his report before one of these breaks. I don't know why this psychiatrist is working for the company and doing evaluations on you, but this guy conducted interviews of a bunch of people, and so, you know, I'm kind of wondering also why nobody asked your boss if he didn't or not. In this whole investigation, there's nothing from your boss about whether he did the groin grabbing or didn't do it. Because they're all part of Hollywood, part of the machine. Who? All of them, the higher psychiatrists. Yes. Oh, yeah, that could explain this. Definitely, because you know, I've seen a lot of these workplace investigations where they don't interview, you know, the person who claims these bad things are happening to them. They don't bother to do that to get their side of the story, and that's real, and that's not part of the script here. You see that a lot, and it's supposed to be an investigation, and they tell these people, you can't talk to any other witnesses about your sexual harassment case. Only we can go get witnesses. So kind of prevents the person who's being sexually harassed from lining up their witnesses when the company's lining up a bunch of people who say they didn't see it, so they're not liable. It is weird that the man who did the groin grabbing was not interviewed. It's also weird that he can't be spoken to. This is exactly what I'm thinking as well, because it's like it's some Orwellian society. Well, I thought Hollywood. I mean, Orwellian is taking this on a little different level. But they're all connected. They made a movie of it. Yeah, and listeners, I read this man's psychiatric report, and there was nothing in there suggesting he was delusional. That's the strangest thing about this, but he really seems to believe this. You know, I just want to have a normal life. I want to go to a bar and meet a woman and not have her say, oh, you make a nice friend, let's go antiquing. I don't want that. Again, it seems that you are homophobic. No, I have gay friends. My best friend's friend is gay. Okay, so have you asked them if this groin grabbing is some international insult now going on? You know, these are great days we live in. Every day there seems to be more tension in the air about protected groups and people thinking they're being discriminated against. You know, I don't know. Maybe now this is the new thing. People are now it's going from race to gay again. Why don't you ask some of your friends if this grabbing thing they've ever heard of the grabbing? Well, it would be offensive to ask them. They might get their feelings hurt, and I don't know.
I am going to, if I take this case, I'm going to sue for sexual harassment based upon the groin gestures from your manager. I'm not suing Hollywood for defamation or any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't tell you. I've had about enough of this. It's one loony client after another, people. This is what you go through as a workplace lawyer that goes through 200 of these every week. And they're very legitimate ones that call. And I want to focus on the legitimate ones. I want to talk to them about real problems, not imaginary problems or things that they shouldn't sue for. So I've got to end this dialogue with this fictional character at this point.
By this time, the attorney had had enough. There was only so much lunacy he could tolerate in 1 hour. He resolved to have nothing to do with the case, and was glad he was being paid for having to listen to this outlandish story.
Well, Mr. Nameless client with a very interesting story. I have to be getting to my West Los Angeles office by 3:30, so I better be leaving this small San Fernando Valley office with no security guard downstairs and no one to eject you.
The attorney lied. The client opened his wallet and took out a check. By this point, the attorney had given up trying to get paid. Purposefully, the attorney went into the other room. Did not give the client the attorney's business card. In the other room, the attorney started checking a stream of voicemail messages that had been left for the attorney during the past hour.
So we get a lot of calls that sound delusional, and delusional people sometimes believe they have a lawsuit relating to employment, and numerically, they just don't. A lot of these calls, besides involving implants in the brain by the Navy, they involve people that are obsessed with racial issues or sexuality issues. I don't know. These days, with racial issues, I'm getting a lot of legitimate race discrimination calls. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I really wish we would get a psychologist who would come on the show and tell us why race and sexual orientation is so prevalent, and it's such a big preoccupation with people out there that they want to sue their employer and they want to talk about those particular issues. The other observation I want to make is there's a tolerance level, of course, in the law, and unfortunately, I have some issues with juries and how I feel they treat gay people. I feel they treat gay people very poorly, and it may be biased because I've only lost one jury trial, and it was a lady that had children, but she had a same-sex partner, and I don't think the jury could appreciate that. The other group that I seem to do a lot of trials for are blacks. I believe there definitely is discrimination going on with the defense bar and the insurance adjusters and the companies believing these people won't make good witnesses or something like that. And race is an incredible problem in the workplace these days. I went through about 17 years of my career where I had maybe one legitimate race discrimination case, and that case also involved whistleblowing. I had another one with an American Indian that was a published case. But then by 2010, we started getting a lot of race cases and a lot of good ones, and it became reversed race discrimination where Koreans were discriminating against people, Latinos were. In Bakersfield, there's a race war going on at the workplace between Latinos and blacks. It's just awful, and they're very serious cases. I'm getting now 25% of the calls I'm getting involve race. Some of them are very hard to prove. Some of them are not so hard to prove. And it's sad that we've taken this step back. You know, we're 50 years from 1968, and I feel like we're in this all over again. But tonight's episode involved a man who really needed to sue for sexual harassment. He believed he was a victim of persistent groin grabbing, and he had an obsession about suing for something else that wasn't really the issue. And his belief that there was a conspiracy would ruin his credibility. And I think if you get someone like that, they're going to start testifying about the conspiracy, even if they've got a sexual harassment case. So it's unfortunate when you get clients or callers like that. And I just have to say, either somebody has a case or they don't. And I don't think that it takes more than a minute or two for me to figure that out. I've done hundreds of thousands of these new client calls, so for me, I can figure it out fast. Give me a call, 877-525-0700 if you have a real case. Again, 877-525-0700. That's 877-525-0700. I'm sorry if this episode offended anybody, but we need to deal with very serious matters, and we need to bring them out into the open because these are the issues that employment lawyers in California and the rest of the country are going through right now. Thank you for listening.
This show furnished by Karl Gerber and Employment Lawyers Group.